Hey guys, and a big welcome to, I don't know what day it is, but we're Control the Controllables coming live from Melbourne. If the noise is not quite the same, I'm sorry. I don't have the microphone today. I haven't made my way back to the hotel. I was gonna pick it up because I'm actually staying here on site to watch young Jack Draper against Alexander Vukic, which is going to be in the next 30-40 minutes after Coco Gauff on Margaret Court Arena. So apologies if the sound's not quite the same as usual, but I didn't want to wait too long before coming back to you guys. As I promised, I'll do a podcast every couple of days during this period and just bringing you hopefully a bit of a feel from Melbourne Park on how things are going. Since I last spoke to you from a personal standpoint, unfortunately, we had a loss, the men's doubles yesterday. Michael Venus and Nikola Mektic, who I'm now coaching, they lost a tight match, and a men's doubles match, it goes down to just a few points here and there. They didn't quite get over the line. Played a decent match, but fair play to Nuno Borges, who's played Carlos Alcaraz today, and also Cabral. That's just the nature. The boys have taken it really well. They're happy with their preparation. They won Auckland last week. They're happy with how they're playing, and more than that, they're happy with the work that they're putting in to develop. So I'm sure they'll get plenty wins in 2025. And then Gabby Dabrowski and Aaron Routliffe, another roller coaster. I just said to someone, it's like going to a theme park every time they play a match these days. They came from a set down again, 4-all in the third, 40 love down they were in that game. Came out 1-6-4 in the third to advance to the third round. So a big day today. Well done to the girls, and yeah, they will go again. And I guess some talking points. Get your questions in. I do have a special guest coming in about 5 minutes, and that is my old coach, but he's more famous for being the old coach of Pat Cash, and that is the legend, the Ian Barclay, 86 years old now, and he is a legend of the game. Any questions for Ian, let me know. He's come also because James Trotman, who I used to live with at the National Tennis Academy when Ian coached us, is the coach of Jack Draper. And Ian Barclay, sharp as a button. He's at all the matches, and he's always feeding back to myself and Trotters as well, and helps us in a great way. Anyone that I did see in Melbourne so far, seen loads of you, loads of old friends, old faces in the sport. So good to see you, and please do keep reaching out and coming to say hello. But yes, talking points. I guess a couple of talking points. The young guns. We talked about this a few days ago. Obviously, Fonseca, incredible, what a player. But we did talk about his 5 sets going to be too much for him. You don't know how people are going to handle the 5-set matches. He seemed to run out of steam a little bit. He lost to Sonego yesterday. And then we've got Mensik, another young gun who we've been talking about for a good while, an unbelievable player. He was 2 sets to love up on Davidovic today and ended up losing in 5 sets. But Lerner Tia and anybody who was watching till 3 a.m. Melbourne last night, beating Daniil Medvedev 7-6 in the third, 10-7 in the tiebreak. There's some young guns coming through, and they're coming through fast. So watch out for all of those names. In terms of my Andy Murray encounter, I mentioned the other day, we had another one today. He's great banter, Andy, but he was sorry, Andy, but he was stealing one of the not stealing, because they have little sweets and chocolates in the locker room. And I had to ask him how he manages to get that body while he's eating chocolate. To which he told me it was the first thing he's eaten all day. And we had a nice little chat around how he's feeling. He said it's tense around pre-match, but he's finding actually so far the match is okay. He's enjoying it. And then we had a bit of a joke about his bicep. Anyone that saw, he was kind of given the bicep, and they had slow-mos of his bicep on all of social media when he was celebrating Novak Djokovic's points. So great to catch up with Andy, and he's in good place right now. Novak Djokovic is 6-1 up in what I thought would be quite a tight match against Maciek today. He's someone who actually Andy Murray struggled with when he played as well. And someone was saying that's quite interesting because these first 2 rounds were against players that Andy wouldn't have played against either. So everyone was saying you're going to get this insight into these players. But I guess as the tournament goes, that insight will be coming through, and I'm sure Andy Murray will come in handy with his old tricks on how to play against a lot of these players. And then the one I have to also mention, Danielle Collins, I don't know if anyone saw it last night, you know, probably didn't say the greatest thing to stop people thinking that tennis players are entitled, as she told the Australian crowd, you know, thank you for the big paycheck that you guys are paying for. It helps me and Coco Vanderweer, a friend of hers, go on holiday to 5-star resorts. But the Aussie crowd are pretty loud and not so kind to the players. She was blowing kisses to them. She did kiss her lips and then slapped her bottom, as if to say, I guess that's kiss my ass in America. So that happened, and I thought, you know what, fair play, you've given a bit back, but maybe what she then said and then reiterated in a press conference wasn't what we need in tennis, when already people think we're a bunch of entitled idiots already. But she certainly brings spark to the game, and you know, we were on the other side of her the other day and she hits an unbelievable tennis ball. So Danielle Collins still going strong. And then just the last one, actually, before I get into a couple of questions, the weather. You might be watching the tennis. When you watch on TV, you don't quite realise, but it was really windy today. So anyone that's watching right now, it's very swirly. You know, it's hard to serve the way you normally would. Now, obviously, on the show courts, you're a bit more protected, but that certainly had an impact on people playing on the outside courts today. And everyone says that 4 seasons in a day at Melbourne, but I don't know about 4 seasons in a day, but I think we're about to get a couple of really hot days over the next 2 or 3 days as well, which I guess is going to have an impact on certain people. You know, it's not so easy. And speaking of the devil, here he comes, the great, the amazing, the legend, Ian Barclay, joining me in our little booth. It's a bit tight in here, Barker's next to me, but this is our Controllables live feed. So unbelievable to have you on. We've got thousands of people watching us here, Barker's.
Very nice.
You know, and as always, you know, the main reason I love going to Grand Slams is I get to see this man, Australian Open and Wimbledon every year. And Barker's, just tell us, Australian Open, when was your first Aussie Open?
First one I played was in 1962.
Oh my, and was that a Kooyong then?
Kooyong, yeah.
So that was Kooyong.
On the grass where it never got as hot as what it gets here, and it's nasty. You never got as sore, but it was fantastic.
And how's it changed? And I guess being an Aussie, you know, people are always talking about the Australian Open, how they're kind of pushing forward. They seem to be doing a great job taking care of players, taking care of coaches. Everyone calls it the happy slam. It's the place to be. How have you seen that develop over the last, I guess, 15, 20 years?
Well, this year I've never seen a crowd like it in all my life. The queues to get onto a court are just incredible, and you can stand there for 20 minutes waiting to get on. It's wonderful for tennis, but I think it's a few too many. But you know,
they're making some money out of it, huh?
Oh, it's huge money, yes, unbelievable.
And I haven't tried it yet, but I heard that they'd have a drink at the US Open, this like Grey Goose vodka cocktail. Someone will know what it's called, but apparently they've brought that in here this year as well, and it's something like they make obscene, like millions out of this one drink.
And it sells like hotcakes.
But you still have your beer.
Yeah, I'll have my beer, thank you very much.
You're not having the cocktail.
No.
And look, Barkers, I've already been speaking about, obviously, Trotters, James Trotman, who we're very proud of and doing a brilliant job with young Jack Draper, 15 in the world. You're always courtside at the matches. We're going to be in the stadium very shortly, so we can't keep you too long before we get in the stadium tonight. What do you think about the match tonight?
I'm a little worried about Jack's soreness. It's tough to play 2 5-setters in a row. But he looked good when he finished the other night. I thought he might have been really exhausted, but when he spoke up when he was interviewed, he sounded as bright as a button. But you always are bright when you win. You're not so bright when you lose.
But do you think that's a little bit as well, though, like the pom getting a bit of stick, you know, in the backyard again? Because it feels to me that we talked about this the other night on the show. There's an Australian crowd, but then there's a Kokonakis and Kyrgios Australian crowd, and it's very,
unfortunately, yeah.
it's very different, right?
Yes,
And
yes.
and actually, maybe it doesn't do them as good as they might think, because maybe that's what gave Jack the little extra juice at the end of it.
I think he fed on it.
Yeah.
He was sort of saying to himself, "You want to abuse me? I'm going to abuse the ball. I'll hit the damn thing harder, and I'll win the match." But I can't stand this awful stuff, yelling out between serves, and
Yeah.
I mean, there's no need for that rubbish.
No.
There's just too many yobbos in there, drinking too much booze, and not paying attention.
We would
to
never
the
do that.
Oh no, not allowed.
And my last thing, we've got a couple of questions, Barkers, because to have you on, there's obviously what we were talking about before. It's like there's some kids coming through, right? You know, there's some serious kids coming through.
Gee.
But last night you were telling me there was a Davis Cup celebration, and Pat Cash, who's been on the podcast, was on good form. Tell us a little about last night. What were you guys?
Quite exciting, because I spent, all those years with the Davis Cup side, and see the guys again that,
Yeah.
I tried to help as much as I could. The ties, I can remember doing so many miles. One year we had 4 Davis Cup ties in Australia. So I flew back from Europe or America 4 times.
Wow.
Tie finished Monday, on a plane back again to the next tournament. I mean, honestly, in those days it was tough,
Yeah.
but exciting. And when we won a Davis Cup, it was just fantastic, unbelievable.
But it feels, again, I still get it now, Barkers, and I know you lived in the UK for many years, but the Aussies have always seemed to take those team events seriously. You get, like, we've actually had the Davis Cup in Malaga the last 3 or 4 years, which is right next to the academy. So we go every year, and the bloody Americans never try. It's like, what the hell's going on? Like, it's like, on paper they look like they're going to be unbelievable, but then they lose first round time and time again. But it seems like the culture of Davis Cup almost lives stronger in Australia than anywhere else in the rest of the world.
I'll let you in a little secret. I've known guys in the Australian Davis Cup team who disliked one another immensely.
Yep.
When the team practice started, they ended up playing doubles together or something.
Yeah.
The team was so united, it was unbelievable. And was never a bad word.
Yep.
Of course, we lost Neil Fraser, our skipper, for many, many years. And, he ruled with a tight hand, and he made sure the boys were all the time helping one another. And, I remember when Pat was 17, the orange boy virtually, and he played his first match. The older guys were just fantastic to him. And that's what's needed. Team sports are, the experience comes along and helps the young ones, and tries to build a great base to work from.
Because it seems to pass on, because obviously Leighton, and people will have different thoughts on Leighton Hewitt. I think he's quite polarising in how people feel about Leighton.
Yeah.
But ultimately, he loves Australia, right? And he loves Davis Cup. He seems to have taken that mantle for many years. It feels like he's been there for a long time. But then you've got like Alex de Minaur that seems to be coming on. There seems to be someone that's carrying that kind of Aussie grit throughout.
Yes, we've always had somebody with absolute sheer strength in joining the boys together. Somebody at the top, or, even an older guy like me there, I'd be saying every day was the same at practice, go harder, work harder. And the guys just, they were always been fantastic, our teams. Never a problem.
Barker's, last couple of questions. I'm going to put you on the spot. We've got João Fonseca. We've got Pericard. I know he lost to Monfils in the first round, but he serves out of a tree. We've got Mensik, and then we've got also Tian, who took out Medvedev last night in the 5-setter. Which one of those names, or are there multiple, is going to be the first Grand Slam champion?
Oh, I think our Portuguese boy is something absolutely special.
Fonseca.
Yeah, he's got something I haven't seen in many years, and that was he just doesn't miss.
Yeah.
He's a bit like another Djokovic, but has an abundance of talent. I saw him play a match the other day, and I watched every shot he played, and I thought to myself, "You've been here before. You're not that young. You look so experienced in what you do." He's been well coached, and he's going to be a great player.
He is, and actually we said on the podcast. Actually, I think I was doing BBC commentary on that match, and I mean against Rublev, and I was just like, whoa, what am I watching? But the one thing I did say watching was he's maybe using a bit too much emotional intensity up, you know, like midway through the third set, and I was like, if this goes to a fourth, I wonder how he's going to handle it. You know, we've seen that before with youngsters, right? Too. And then against Sonego yesterday, he did run out of steam a little bit, you know, and I guess that's all. It's one thing learning to hit tennis shots, it's another thing how to play tennis points, but it's a whole different thing of how to work your way through a Grand Slam and how you manage all of that. What would your one bit of advice be to him on how he kind of manages his way through being able to win 7 matches over 2 weeks?
Well, you've got to prepare for the Grand Slam. You make that your big grand final.
Yep.
You ease into it and don't do too much the week before, and then you've got to give your heart and soul to every point you play.
Yep.
And if you don't get the correct rest, the horrible thing which can happen with the young guys is if you get rain and they don't get a day's rest and they have to play 2 5-setters in 2 days, they're finished. I've seen that happen so many times. That's why when Pat won Wimbledon, he was so fit and he'd worked so hard. But all I prayed for, please don't rain, which is most unusual, as we know, in the UK. But he got through, very lucky. No bad breaks of, you know, having to play 2 5-setters. But it was great.
Barkers, I'm going to let you go and get ready, go and get your seat. It can't be, I don't know, I know Coco was a setup when we came on, but...
and about to be fall up.
Okay, so Barkers needs to go, I need to go. Ian Barclay, absolute legend. Thank you for coming on. I'm Dan Kiernan. We are Control the Controllables. Until next time, take care. Bye-bye.
Super, mate.
Legend. Thanks, Barkers.
Okay, pal. We'll go and barrack for the boy.
Absolutely.